Hello everybody and welcome to another fan submission on its current year, today sent in by Stormrunner, who is up against Call HR of, or looks like a new recruit for RTK, Lizardmen versus High Elves, and I would say, one of the strongest High Elf sub-factions, probably up there with, I guess, Avalon with the different unit options. But for one reason, and we'll get to that in a sec, for Call HR's Lizardmen, a couple of units of Chameleon Stalkers up the front. I think that is also just a Chameleon Skink, good old Chameleon Skink. Don't see them so often anymore. Red-crested Skinks in the back here, as well as some cohorts with Javelins dotted along the secondary line. Star Chamber Guardian doing some good old protect here of the Saurus Scar Veteran and Mazda Mundi, and the dreaded double arc of Zotek. Once a meme no longer. Very, very strong unit now, and probably extremely undercosted at 1k points. So yeah, Star Chamber Guardians doing their thing here with their magical weapons. Looks like we've got a pretty much just a naked Scarvet on the cold one here, and Mazda Mundi coming in with the Sunburst Standard, Net of Amontok, Apotheosis, and then all his bound abilities and good stuff. You know him, you love him. He's still a strong lord, even with Oxy being very popular at the moment, and obviously a very strong faction. So for Stormrunner's High Elves, look at this. In the very back, we have two units of Shadow Warriors, so they're going to work their way up. They've got some ground to cover. In the front here, Illyrian Reavers, two of them, and then some Dragon Princes in the back. Behind these Reavers, we've got some War Lions. You'll love to see that because you hardly ever see it. And then we've got some more Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers on each flank. So this is a very spread out force. Oh, we've got another unit of Illyrian Reavers and some more War Lions. Very nice. So Shadow Walkers here, we've talked about them before basically as, I guess, sort of budget Way Watchers in a way. They do obviously lack a bit of armor piercing, but there's ways to get around that. Olithanar's coming in here. Looks like he has the Moonbow and the Decoy. Pretty much stock standard. He's also got the reload skill, but everything's quite spread out, so not really taking advantage of that at the moment, as well as Slippery for when he needs to pop that and run. So yeah, Moonbow can kill, can do decent damage to single entities, can potentially also kill some Cav models, and the Mage of Metal coming in with Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, and Searing Doom. Metal Magic, very, very good against the Lizardmen. Searing Doom is good against Saurus Blobs. Final Transmutation, you all know what that does. And Plague of Rust, Overcast with minus 30, or Overcast for minus 60 rather, we'll get the battle underway, basically turns even Shadow Warriors, not just Shadow Walkers, into, as I said, pseudo Way Watchers, because armor can be a little bit of an issue for them. They don't have great armor piercing, but right off the bat, a pretty bold move here by the Reavers. They have soaked up a bunch of the precursor ammunition from the Chameleon Stalkers, and now the Red-Crested Skin's going to get in on top of the War Lions. Not a great trade for them, just the amount of unit models there. Probably on the charge, they can do a fair bit of damage, but it's not going to go well for them if they stay in that fight. Likewise, the Illyrian Reavers here getting peppered down by the Chameleon Skinks. This side's going a little bit better. Doesn't look like these Javelins have been able to be thrown off, and the precursor ammo may be getting absorbed predominantly by the War Lions, or do we actually get that unit of Illyrian Reavers shattered off as well? Possibly. But the Dragon Princes are going to be brought forward into the fray now, and they're going to absolutely love that. Look at that damage on the charge. Now, time gone by before the Cav beta became a thing, as we see a nice response here from Call HR with the net going down. It's going to be pretty nasty for the Dragon Princes that actually just hold these guys back. Throw your jabs. It's good value on, reasonable value on the Dragon Princes, particularly while they are netted. But you're probably going to see a big double, probably a big double arc of Zotek go off here, but a very nice response, an upgraded Final Transmutation, getting basically everything you'd want it to. Both arcs, Mazda Mundi, Scarvet, some of the infantry, probably with the exception of the Star Chamber Guardians, everything that's worth Final Transmutating in this force is suffering as a result now. And the High Elves definitely from the outset here are on the back foot. These Shadow Walkers in the back have had a long trek in, but there's not a lot to pressure them actually. No Pterodons to possibly waste ammo. Bow units don't tend to fire all that well into flying cav like that, and not even any cav to really, because they're very isolated at the moment. I mean, even Saurus cav, even though it is quite slow, even with the poison of the Shadow Walkers on their weapons, probably can still catch them and break them down. Now, Illyrian Reavers and Warlines still very healthy out here, using some ammo here obviously on shattered units, but he's probably microing pretty fiercely over here. Elithanar has indeed popped Slippery, and he has popped his decoy, but he can still be seen. So these Illyrian Reavers are probably going to have to jump in on these red-crested skinks, sell their lives, but they may deal some damage on the charge as well. Actually dealing some really nice damage on the charge. Wow, okay, for how many do we have there? 10 Illyrian Reavers? Oh no, okay, Elithanar gets netted. Very nice play by Cool HR there, using that on the proper version instead of the decoy, which we see over here. But the Star Chamber Guardians, obviously this is going well, and Elithanar's been offered up here as I guess a little bit of a sacrificial lamb. He's hiding in the trees, and I guess, well, I suppose the Ark of Sotek's pretty good at killing infantry. Mazdamundi can definitely do a lot of damage to him, but look at the Star Chamber Guardians with their Plague of Rust on them, 25 armor, and their back has been turned, and we're seeing some pretty punishing volley. Look at that, 600 damage right off the bat. They are probably going to go down. So if I guess there's any hope at the moment for Stormrunner, it's that he can bring this cav out here back to the fight. He can use his ammo effectively. I'd probably turn these guys off fire at will now and just use... I mean, Shadow Walkers are decent in combat. They can probably actually shatter these skink cohorts off with their martial, martial abilities alone. But honestly, they don't pose much of a threat, and it's probably even not worth trying to shatter them at the moment. Just reunify your forces. Likewise here, get the mage to push these guys off. Don't use your ammo anymore. But we're in a state now where Elithanar is going to die. That's pretty much all said and done over there for the Shadow King. He will be heading back to whatever realm he calls home, because there's debate about whether Elithanar is in fact immortal anymore, or he has sort of transcended the material plane. But the cav is out here, can polish off the scraps. Plenty of ammo left. I mean, there's 2 units here, Shadow Warriors here, Shadow Walkers here, that can be thrown in once they finish their ammunition. But likewise, like I said before, don't want to be using ammo here. These are precious, precious volleys now. We might put it on a little bit of a fast play, so Elithanar will probably either shatter or be chased off the board. And with both the items on the Mage of Metal, there's not going to be any shortage of Winds of Magic here. So the remaining ammo here needs to be used well. It needs to be used, obviously, I would say first and foremost, taking out Mazdamundi. He does have pretty decent melee missile resistance, as we'll see here, particularly with the Sunburst Standard. But 130 armor, down to 70 with a Plague of Rust, potentially big. 25 missile resistance there, and also buffing the missile resistance of the things around him. But we're going to see in a second the potential damage output that Plague of Rust does offer. None of this here. I mean, there's still actually some ammunition left, so that's going to be reasonably nice for Call HR here, because Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers are going to be very, very unarmored. But look at this. As we see, 70 armor, 4.5k HP. Holy Jesus. Okay, so I mean, you've seen Way Watchers do this without the Plague of Rust, but look at that. That is just, I mean, they've probably all made their cost back there in the space of 15 seconds. Mazdamundi's going to die, and all of a sudden this is looking like a lost cause now for the Lizardmen, because, again, the infantry that can be thrown into fight here, I mean, Shadow Warriors and even Shadow Walkers will beat skinks in combat. There are some chameleons left, which is quite annoying, but here comes the cavalry, and without infantry to fight behind, Warlines also have some pretty decent AP, so it can be used to bring down the Solar Engine. It's all about Ark of Sotek, sorry, the new coolness that is the Ark of Sotek. And Sora Scarvet doesn't really have any good targets. He can't catch the Mage of Metal, and Cold One Cavalry in general isn't great at killing infantry. They miss a lot of their attack animations, and we're seeing now the infantry is pretty much done for. These Illyrian Reavers can probably push them off the field. The Warlines can go after the Solar Engines one by one. I believe they are actually just fast enough. They may actually just be fast enough, because they obviously will poison things with the little blowpipes or the little jabs from the crew on the back. Good pickup here. Shadow Warrior's being picked off by the Ark of Sotek, popping the ability here, which was maybe could have been saved because there's going to be some stuff coming back in. But at the moment, it's just single entities left for the Lizardmen, and the High Elves can kind of abuse that. With the amount of ammo they have left, we're probably going to see at least another Plague of Rust. 6 Winds of Magic isn't a big asking price, and well, 9 ammo, 1 ammo, no ammo. We'll see what can be done. So as we say, a Plague of Rust coming down here. Still 80 armor, so that's still pretty decent. That's where you're starting to hit, the territory where you can legitimately call yourself armored. But the war lines are in there doing some work. The arrows are plinking away. The Illyrian Reavers have been chased off, and war lines don't have the best leadership, so we may potentially see a terror out soon. But again, there's just enough infantry to just slow them down, do what they need to do. Starwood Staff is increasing the power reserves, needs to get the Book of Hoth online as well. Shadow Warriors are going to send their volleys in here, and all of a sudden, with the Illyrian Reavers coming off, the Scarvet has to kind of engage to follow the attacking rules, and there's no shortage of stuff. I mean, the Mage can do it to chase this Bastiladon off. So, nice target priority here by Stormrunner. And we're going to see, just the swarm. I mean, just the amount of unit models laying hits on the Scar Veteran is just too much for him. And in the end, another Plague of Rust is going to bring down this Ark of Sotek. So, very, very well played by Stormrunner. A very well-crafted victory there, despite it not looking good for them, for the High Elves in the early portions of that match. But a fantastic use of Plague of Rust to just make these guys just trade like bananas. Look at that, nearly 2k on them, 1.5. Even the Shadow Warriors all getting their cost back well and truly. War Lions, this is actually probably the war. I don't think they're a great unit. In fact, I think they're probably pretty much a garbage unit, but this is a matchup where I have used them in the past as well. Dragon Princes having a really tough time, obviously copying the worst of that net. Elithnar did go down and was chased off the battlefield, but 1400 damage there from that final transmutation, and that doesn't even factor in all the extra damage done by the Plague of Rust. Over here for the Lizardmen, that hurts. 0. Arks having, an okay time making their cost back, and the rest of the list kind of just being run a bit of a dance by the Shadow Warriors for most of the game. So Mazda, as you saw there, a lot of HP, doesn't juke very well because he's not very fast, particularly when bigger penalties get brought into play. But even with the armor and the missile resistance, just absolutely no match for just the sheer firepower of the Shadowlands. So very well played by Stormrunner. Thank you for sending it in and letting me cast. Bad luck to call HR. Pretty tough game, pretty frustrating position for him, but well played nevertheless. And until next time, take care.